Finally tonight, one man's long military career and a special hometown effort to honor him. Here's CBS's Steve Hartman on the road.
So as we gather here on this Memorial Day,
at a ceremony in Poolesville, Maryland, American Legion Post 247 paid special tribute to one of its own.
He was a Marine. He was most proud of being a Marine.
The vet they're honoring is Gunnery Sergeant Richard Remp. Remp, who everyone called Gunny, quit high school to serve in World War II and stayed all the way through Vietnam.
Here's all his ribbons.
Friends Julian Singh and James Capicilli say he was highly decorated.
That's right.
And all those accomplishments, and there was still one thing left undone.
Yes.
High school diploma.
That was his sort of farewell wish.
Fortunately, Pennsylvania law allows for any honorably discharged veteran of World War II, Korea, or Vietnam to receive an honorary high school diploma. Unfortunately, it takes time, and Gunny had just days to live. Nevertheless, his friends, in desperation, reached out to school officials here in his hometown of Sharon, Pennsylvania.
Hi.
Superintendent Justy Glaros took the call.
I have a lot of passion for the men and women that serve our country, and just everything inside of me said, yes, go, do it.
So she expedited the request and then went the extra mile, or more like the extra 550 miles, driving nearly 5 hours each way to hand deliver his diploma.
It was overwhelming. And I knew that he had been weak, but in that moment, he wasn't. He was all in.
Gunny died 2 days later. He was 98.
The last thing he really remembered was getting that high school diploma from Justy.
This may be the most memorable graduation story of the season, but it is also not entirely unique. This weekend and in the days ahead, about 4 million people will graduate high school, and behind each diploma, you'll find at least one educator who made the moment possible. Steve Hartman, on the road in Poolesville, Maryland.
Finally here tonight, when it comes to giving back, money is important, but caring is priceless. Here's CBS's Steve Hartman on the road.
We return this week to Toledo, Ohio, to Scott High School, to see what became of all those seniors who walked into this gym 4 years ago and got the surprise of a lifetime.
If you're sitting here in this room today, tuition, room and board, books and fees will be paid for you, and you will go to college for free.
Philanthropist Pete Cadens started this charity, called Hope Toledo, for kids like Chris Rowland. Chris told me he could have never afforded college, especially after his mom, Abina, lost her job, and his dad died in a house fire.
Yeah. My dad was the closest person I had in my life.
He was such an awesome father. He's still going to make him proud. I know he is.
4 years later, the first kids are graduating, but only about half will end up with a degree, which means for every joyous celebration, there is a dream deferred. Like that of Chris Rowland.
It's a lot that I've been through.
Shortly after starting college, Chris's brother, Javon, was murdered.
But yeah, still dealing with it.
How did it affect your school?
My grades took a dwindle. They went completely downhill.
To the point where Chris quit school, struggled to hold a job, and got in with the wrong crowd. He gave up on Hope Toledo, but not all hope was lost.
Because from that first day in the gym to now, Pete Cadens has stayed in Chris's life. Through all the missteps and blown opportunities, Pete has been there, mentoring, lecturing, feeding, and fathering.
What do we need to do to help you?
And because of Pete's ever-presence, today Chris Rowland is back on track, finishing his freshman year here at Lourdes University in Sylvania, Ohio.
You know what I realized along this journey, Steve, is that if all we do is give them money, they're not going to make it. You have to look at all the different things that create a successful student and a successful person, despite your struggles.
Most importantly, commitment, long-term commitment.
Pete has always constantly been there. When I gave him plenty of reasons to stop believing me, he stayed and he's still sticking it out with me. So Pete he's something special. It's hard to put in words.
I think he just did. Steve Hartman on the road in Toledo, Ohio.
Finally tonight, CBS's Steve Hartman goes on the road for a story about love, loss, and hope.
Working at this vehicle inspection site in Katy, Texas,
Signals work.
Was never part of Jalen Gray's plan. Far from it. He actually wanted to be a park ranger, but quit college and gave up the dream.
It's not a really good feeling, giving up at all, but
sometimes it's not quitting, it's just doing the right thing.
Yeah, I had to do what I had to do, so.
Go, go, go! As we first reported last year, Jalen's little brother, Julian, became his sole priority.
He's my reason.
All right, let's go. His reason and his responsibility. Their mother and only parent died 3 years ago.
I just miss her so much.
From that day on, I swore, at all costs, I'm protecting them.
Unfortunately, their lives went from bad to unbearable.
Nowhere to go.
After that big freeze hit Texas a couple years ago, the pipes burst in their house, the one their mother left them, and ruined everything.
Some strange times.
Then the contractor Jalen hired to fix it took their life savings.
Tragic, isn't it?
The boys were pretty much homeless, living with their last surviving close relative, when a nonprofit called Katy Responds caught wind. The group fixes up houses after natural disasters. Over the years, they've helped more than 100 families, but few more worthy than those boys.
Yeah, it breaks your heart.
Had to help.
Had to.
Executive Director Ron Peters.
They had no idea people would want to jump in and help them.
Which may explain their speechless surprise.
I was overwhelmed.
Thanks to an army of donors and volunteers, the brothers are finally and forever back in their mother's house. Fully renovated, better than ever.
There's just so many nice people in this room right now, and it makes me so happy.
Since we first told this story, life for the boys has only gotten better. Viewers pitched in and are now paying for Jalen to go back to college to become a park ranger.
All expenses paid?
All expenses paid.
What a turn of events for you.
Yeah, no, complete 180. This random acts of kindness helping me get there.
When their mother died, Julian and Jalen thought all they had was each other. But they were off by one whole nation. Steve Hartman on the road in Katy, Texas.
Finally tonight, the journey through junior high school can be a long one for some students. CBS's Steve Hartman has a story of one teenager who truly went the distance on the road.
Under St. Louis's other arch lies Harris Stowe State University.
Historically black university.
Where, last month, school president LaTanya Collins Smith awarded a full-ride, 4-year scholarship to a boy she just met and knew virtually nothing about.
That kid, that day, it was something that resonated with my spirit.
14-year-old Xavier Jones had started the day on a mission. His grandfather's car wasn't working, and Xavier really wanted to be someplace. So he started walking 6 miles, 2 hours, through tough neighborhoods, busy traffic, and blazing sun.
At one point, he got so thirsty, he begged someone for $1 to buy something to drink. Thought about turning back, but pressed on. All just so he could walk another 30 feet and collect his 8th grade diploma.
If you really want to get something, then you have to work hard for it.
He wanted to be present. Speaks volumes, Steve. Half the battle is showing up.
So, on the spot, Colin Smith, who just happened to be in the auditorium that day, awarded Xavier a scholarship. Xavier was thrilled, albeit for the wrong reason.
He thought that a full ride meant he would get a ride to college, like that he wouldn't have to walk here again.
Fortunately, he's got 4 years of high school to process what it all means.
With the whole engineering piece that you want to do.
Until then, he plans to keep up his grades, which were already excellent, and keep stoking that fire in his belly.
It basically comes from who I am and the kind of person that I want to be.
Which is the same kind of person LaTanya Collins Smith wants in her school.
You know, oftentimes at colleges, we spend a lot of time on standardized test scores because that's who you are, right? It's not true.
Sometimes who you are is better measured by how far you've come. Steve Hartman, On the Road, in St. Louis.
Finally tonight, an Army widow makes good on a long-kept promise. CBS's Steve Hartman has her inspiring story, On the Road.
It's karaoke night inside the Sigma Kappa sorority house at Bowling Green State University in Ohio. And here, amongst all the dancing queens in their teens, we found one stationary sister in her 40s. Tiffany Eckert, America's most unlikely sorority sister, in so many more ways than one.
I still miss you every day.
Tiffany's husband, Andy Eckert, died in the Iraq War.
This is his wedding ring.
Years later, I did a story on their son, Miles, the little boy who found a $20 bill in a Cracker Barrel parking lot and then gave it away to an airman he saw in the restaurant.
Because he was a soldier, and soldiers remind me of my dad.
Miles' tribute to his father deeply touched the nation. But there was another story here, one that has gone untold till now.
Yeah. Just a few hours before my husband was killed, he called home from Iraq, and he said no matter how long it took, I had to get an education, and he made me promise that I would. And then he told me, I love you more than anything in this world. I'll call you tomorrow.
It was the last promise she ever made to him, and the only one she hadn't kept. Tiffany says she barely made it through high school and now had little kids to raise on her own. College was out of the question. But those kids grew up. So 3 years ago, she decided to not only enroll, but to immerse herself in the full college experience.
You can't focus on the negative because you'll always be in the pit. It's easier to claw your way up when you're reaching for the sunshine. That's how you get out of the hole.
You know, she's helped me so much and she's inspired me a lot, and I know she's inspired a lot of the other girls in the chapter.
There's definitely not one person she hasn't made an impact on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Including, Tiffany hopes, the most important person.
I go back to that last phone call, and I think he's really, really proud of me.
She graduates next month.
Love you.
Promise kept. Steve Hartman, On the Road, in Bowling Green, Ohio.
McDonald's restaurants serve billions of hamburgers every year, but there's one restaurant where the workers are the ones being served and saved, thanks to a very special woman. Here's CBS's Steve Hartman with this week's On the Road.
Of all the fates that could have fallen on 18-year-old Emmanuel Graham, business student at the University of Massachusetts Lowell seemed most unlikely of all. Both his parents died before his 13th birthday.
After those years, I kept messing up in school because both of my biggest support systems, they were gone.
So you were rudderless all the way through junior year in high school?
I didn't think I would make it to college or senior year.
Emmanuel credits his remarkable turnaround, at least in part, to a mentor, a woman who has offered countless kids in Lynn, Massachusetts, a heaping helping of love and guidance, along with a side of fries.
Hola! I get so excited when I walk in the door because I know what I'm coming to now. I'm coming to my family.
This is McDonald's assistant manager, Andrea De La Rosa. Emmanuel used to work for Andrea and gave her the nickname Mama McDonald's.
I appreciate you, Mama. You never stop being a mother just because they're not your kids.
To Andrea, managing young people on their first jobs is about so much more than barking orders. It's about listening,
I went to school today.
helping with homework, college applications, really any issue, at any hour, for every kid who works here.
She treats me as if she's her child. She always checks on me. She makes sure I have everything that I need.
It doesn't matter what time of the day it is. At night, she'll pick up.
She will pick up. Like, I don't have like a relationship with my mother. Dre gives me the mother figure that I never had.
It's just a little bit of kindness, a little bit of love that means the world to somebody.
At a time when most employers are offering incentives if you stay, Andrea is offering unconditional love, no matter where your career takes you. And as a result, employees are receiving bonuses of immeasurable value.
To have a person of support to help me go through it, it kind of like slowly healed like what I was missing.
And as for his future, Emmanuel says he doesn't know yet what kind of business he'll go into. He just knows the kind of boss he wants to be. Steve Hartman, On the Road, in Lynn, Massachusetts.
High school graduation is a time to celebrate a student's accomplishments. CBS's Steve Hartman goes on the road to find that some of life's biggest lessons happen outside the classroom.
Mike and Tracy Tebow always believed that time heals all wounds. But that belief faded last fall when their 18-year-old son, Jake, was paralyzed in a hockey game.
I don't know how time's going to take care of this, because he couldn't cut a piece of steak, couldn't sit up, couldn't, put shoes on.
Plus, Jake's goal in life had always been to play college hockey, and his parents couldn't imagine how long it would take him to find new purpose. They really couldn't imagine.
Jake had just found out he would likely never walk again when his high school principal came to visit him in the hospital here. And whether Jake got caught up in the moment or was simply in denial, he made a bold prediction that day.
I don't remember much, but I vividly remember saying to him, I will walk at graduation.
What was that based on?
I have no clue, honestly. I just said it. I was like, I'm going to walk at graduation.
He was so positive.
Todd Bland is head of school at Milton Academy outside Boston.
In a moment like that, you want to be encouraging, but you don't want to assure something that you're not sure can happen.
So he simply said, "That's wonderful, Jake."
So that just kind of became his goal.
If I set something, I'm going to do what it takes to get to it.
And from that day on, Jake immersed himself in therapy, doing way more than was asked of him, in the slim hope that one day he could do that walk.
Jake Morris Tebow.
Under his own power.
I was so in the zone that I just kind of got a sense of you can do it.
9 months work for 30 steps.
And then he looks up and he just has this huge smile on his face.
One of the most special moments I've ever experienced.
It motivates me to just go harder than ever to beat this.
Next goal, to walk without support. And soon, because although time may heal all wounds, Jake Tebow isn't waiting. Steve Hartman, On the Road, in Boston.